Hello, good time zone everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm not 100% today, once again. It's Sunday, I'm slightly tired, but never mind that. I am going to continue development of a game that I made for Trijam not too long ago. And my plan is to basically turn this game into something a little more fleshed out and expanded, and turn this in as the entry for the basically last month's one game a month gem. I'm of course talking about the Hungarian version, which is called Havi Egy Játék, and it stands for one game a month. So basically, as you can see, the timer is once again pretty close to the deadline. I have 2 days and 8 hours to submit something, and I actually am feeling pretty good about the current state of the game. As I've already mentioned, this is a game that I started working on for Trijam. To be exact, it was for Trijam 270. And I'm just going to give you a quick look-see how the game turned out. So, as you may or may not know, Trijam's requirement, or I mean, it's an optional restriction, but yeah, mostly a requirement usually, is to finish the game's development in 3 hours. Now, I did not accomplish that. I have a stream to prove it. I'm in a VOD. It's up on my YouTube channel. I attempted to make something that is kind of like Vampire Survivors, just a little bit, I mean, control-wise. So a shooter, an action game, where a bunch of enemies try to kill you. And I mostly did it in 3 hours, but it was really basic stuff. So I spent another 2 hours, more or less, working on it, and to add some variety, fix some bugs, do some balancing and stuff like that. So basically, this was the game that I submitted for Trijam. Let me just, as you can see, it's named something zones something, and as you can guess, the theme was zones. I mean, it was in the zone, I think, or something like that, but yeah, so I failed to come up with a title for the game, and I still do not have an idea what am I going to call the one that I'm submitting for the Hey Jam. So yeah, if anyone has any ideas on how to implement some basic lore and name it accordingly, I am really, I would be honored to receive some suggestions. Never mind that. So the game, which has no title and basically no menu screen, so it looks like this, is this little number. So basically you have a little guy that shoots automatically at enemies that are trying to get to their position. So you can move around with the WASD or the arrow keys. I'm just going to, yeah, use the WASD keys, and some zones are spawning at fixed intervals. This little present or gift or whatever you prefer was one of them, and if I wait a couple more seconds, there it is, there's another one. So if I enter the zone, this little yellow radius, this particular type of zone starts spawning coins, and coins at the moment have no real meaning except they give you a bunch of points. When you kill enemies, they also give you points, and basically you can of course get damaged like this, and as you probably saw, because I was in this little red zone, which is in the second type, it heals you. Right now, if you stay within the zone, every 2 seconds, you get 1 health point back. And the maximum health is 10 at the moment. So I'm really trying to survive for a little bit, but yeah, there are 3 types of zones, and you've seen 2 of them so far. So the yellow one gives you coins, the red one gives you health, and I'm really hoping that the third one is eventually spawning. It's all random completely at this point, but this is about to change, by the way. I just want to show you the third zone. Maybe we're going to be here for a while, because it is completely random, even though there are only 3 types of zones. Yeah. Okay, let's do some healing. So this is what healing looks like at the moment. And yeah, these guys are spawning all around me at fixed intervals as well. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is the blue one. And if I enter, I shoot a bigger bullet, which does 4 times as much damage as the normal weapon. So yeah, this is basically it. This was the whole game, and if you die, then the game ends, and then you can see your high score, and there is no real game over screen or anything. So you just stay here, and enemies continue to spawn in. So yeah, it's really rough around the edges, this game. But then again, it was made in 5 hours on stream. If anyone's interested, the video is up on my YouTube, as I have mentioned. It's basically here. So right now the game looks a tiny bit different, but mostly the same. Of course, the link for the current version is under the video, on the video, above the video, no. But yeah, you can reach it at this little URL. And the biggest change that you can see at first is that the ground texture is different a little. It really looked ugly, the previous one, so I went with something that is a little less contrasty, if I can say this. Also, the zones are bigger, so you can stay within the zone more easily. And you can also notice that something is a bit different with the projectiles. These little projectiles are actually little 3-dimensional cubes instead of sprites or billboards. So basically everything is a billboard in this game. The trees, the player, the enemies, everything was a billboard, but the bullets are now a little tiny and really bad looking 3D shape. Essentially a little cube or something. And this is because I added a little twist to the whole game, and it looks like this. So now you can basically turn with the player. And this is kind of useful because the player can only shoot to the left or right of them. So if I move here, for example, then the player will not shoot because it's, well, mostly because it's a two-directional sprite. So it just flips left to the left and the right, and it would look really weird if the bullets were coming out, you know, in the up or down direction. So yeah, I went with this. So the player can only shoot left and right, but you can turn now. So basically you can shoot in any direction. And yeah, so because the game is essentially kind of like a survivals-like, so a bunch of enemies are constantly spawning and trying to kill you, and you are attacking them, in this case with a simple gun that has a limited amount of hit points. I mean, it deals a limited amount of damage so far. I basically contemplated, okay, why not add the turning, since it's already 2.5 dimensions, so it could look good. And I think it doesn't look that bad. I mean, it might get a little woozy for some players, hopefully not, but yeah, I mean, if you start turning constantly, then yeah, it might be a little disorienting, but hopefully not too bad. So yeah, this is basically where the game is right now. It also has gamepad support, that was in the Trijam version as well. And it also has touchscreen support, but it's a little bit limited because the touchscreen support allows player movement, but not turning at this point. And I'm going to fix that, possibly on stream today. So basically, if you want, you can play this on your phone or a tablet or something, and just touch the screen or whatever, and move your finger to specify a direction for the player. And hopefully it will get updated soon, so it will allow turning as well. Now, I have a to-do list. I mean, I've had a to-do list before the whole shebang. This was the original idea before I started implementing the game. I had some more specific to-do lists. Now it's named Trijam to do, and it's mostly checked out. I mean, I think everything is checked out on this. I also have a weird list called random ideas. I'm not going to get into that. There was my little timesheet or whatever. So when I was working on the game during the jam, and this was where I noted down how much time I spent developing it. And as you can see, it was basically almost 5 hours, very close to 5 hours actually. And yeah, there was a first, there was an update right after the jam. Oh, hey Flavius, hey, good to see you. Peekaboo. Almost scared me, but not quite. So yeah, how are you doing, by the way? How is the pixel art biz. I missed the Tuner the Nerd stream yesterday, but I did check out the VOD this morning. I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't have time, but I saw that you made 2 more streamer art, if that's a right expression, and it's really cool. Okay, it was Connie and I'm skipping on the other name, but yeah, you are super good at this. So, okay, where was I? Yeah, okay, I was talking about this little number. Doing fine, thanks. So I'm doing this little post Trijam update for this game, and it looks like this at the moment. It's kind of like Vampire Survivors control-wise, and you can also move the camera or the player, basically the same, because the camera is attached to the player, and you can shoot stuff. And I have a really long to-do list that I want to tackle, not today, not the whole thing, but I'm also going to submit this game to another jam that ends in 2 days, so hopefully most of the to-do list will get crunched in the coming days. Okay, so I was talking about some post-jam updates. I'm not going to get into the details, but basically I did some quality of life stuff already, but mostly the big features was this turning thing, and also some balancing happened as well. Right, touching grass at the moment. 2 more streamer art. Yeah, you should, I don't know, contemplate doing some kind of, I don't know, maybe a website that collects all this stuff, or some kind of virtual gallery. I don't know. Do you have any plans to do something like that? It would be quite cool to see them all at once, basically. Right. Also finished the one for the DJ stream. Okay. DJ, you mean JD, or or am I missing something? Meanwhile, I have the project open, and I'm going to bump up the version number to 9. Yeah, my PC is still quite slow, so it might take some time to do some saving here and there. So yeah, I did a bunch of refactoring as well since the jam, because I really left things in quite a messy state, to say the least. So yeah, it's a little better now. I added a few more event sheets, separated stuff that was related to the projectiles and the spawners. Oh, there are spawners basically now as well, because they used to be just the obstacle sprites all over the place. So this is the level. It's not random generated, it's always the same. But now it has this little spawner sprite, which sprouts the obstacle object and also the tree billboard randomly. I mean, the type of the tree is randomized, but the position is the same. Okay, so I already have a crap ton of tabs open. I'm just going to close up everything, and but I do want to print them all and put them on the wall. That sounds really neat as well. They are super cool. And I am quite honored to be among the ones that you have pixel arted. I don't know what's the proper expression for that, but yeah, turned into pixel art. That's it. Let's just go with it. Yeah. Well, I still haven't replaced my avatar on Twitch, by the way, and I wanted to, but I completely forgot about this. So sorry about that. I think I'm going to do that right after I finish the stream, because yeah, I don't know why I haven't done it yet, by the way. Okay, so not JD DJ. Okay, sorry. So I don't. I thought that you meant JD. You know, JD does that for, yeah. Stream here on Twitch with 2 DJs. Right. Okay. Should be also on the 2 Nerdy Nerds Discord channel above the 2 new ones. I'm gonna check it out. I think when I'm finished with this stream, probably in like 2 or 3 hours, depends on when my brain gives up. When my brain gives up on me. I think I'm going to go over to the nerd stream and also check out the Discord stuff. So yeah, will do. Okay, so let me just get my bearings. Okay, so this is basically a huge to-do list, and I'm not going to do anything, or I mean everything from the list today, but I will do some random stuff, not in this order necessarily. So let's just see. Okay, there's a bug related to the player turning stuff. Some enemies are faced in the wrong direction when following the player after the player has started turning. So maybe I will start with that. And also, yeah, I mentioned that the touch input is lacking the turning ability at this point. So possibly I'm also going to tackle that in the beginning. And then I have some feature items, basically bigger ones as well, and some more juice. So okay, let's just try to fix the bug at first. So I'm just going to give it a little look, if I remember it correctly, because I did note it yesterday and I'm not 100% sure that. Okay, so right now the enemies are facing the player. Oh, I'm going to turn off the music, by the way, of the game. Right, okay, so right now the enemies are facing the player, which is cool. But if I start turning, for example, if I start turning this way, as you can see, the little cockroach sprite was looking at the wrong direction. So basically they are moonwalking at this point. I think if I turn completely, then basically everything is flipped. Yeah, so right now I'm 180 degrees compared to the spawn position or angle. And right now, basically every enemy is moonwalking. You can't tell that the crabs are moonwalking because it's basically, the animation is just one frame and it's mirrored constantly back and forth. So yeah, you really don't notice it with the crabs, but all the other enemies are moonwalking. And if I turn back, so yeah, then everything is fine. This is basically because I'm using the X position of the enemies compared to the player, I think, to determine whether they should be mirrored or not. So I am going to locate this part of the code or the events. They should be, I think, right here, or not, but we'll see. Or maybe here, yeah. So yeah, this is I think the part. So basically, yeah. So this little custom action called tick is run at every tick for the enemies, and it selects enemies based on their current angle, I mean movement direction basically. And if they are not mirrored and are moving to the right, then they are mirrored. So okay, or maybe the other way. I am getting confused, but basically what needs to happen is to make this angle stuff a little dynamic, I think, according to the camera, possibly. Okay, because right now the player object is right here, and this little blue stuff right here is actually an object called camera helper. So the camera helper is attached to the player. Wherever the player goes, the camera helper object moves along with them. And if they rotate, they also rotate. So let me just check chat. Yeah, so Flavius says, I did one for you, I mean for me, because I asked about the pixel art and I felt like really, that's really nice of you to say so. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, it was a little intimidating because when you showed it the first time on the Two Nerdy Nerds stream, I was like, oh my freaking god. And you you asked the nerds that if they know who the streamer is, and I was like 100% sure that they will have no idea who I am. But this is fine, I mean, yeah. But it was really a really nice surprise, and yeah, I loved it. Okay, so about this camera stuff. I'm contemplating doing something that basically shifts these angles a little according to the player's direction, possibly. I'm just going to check something real quick. If I select the player object and I turn on their visibility, and also maybe do the same thing for the enemies. And also I think I'm going to temporarily disable the music, possibly right here, and I will make a little to-do prod note for myself, re-enable music. So this is just so the music doesn't start playing when I start the game, because right now, if you're watching this on Twitch, there should be background music. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, then it makes no difference. Okay, one other thing I wanted to do is to actually make the little enemy objects. Oh no, it should be visible. What is this black stuff, by the way, then? Okay, for some reason I added a color overlay. No idea why. Okay. Yeah, Flavius says they love my reaction that day. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, it was really something that I've never in a million years would have expected, so yeah, it was a big surprise. Okay, so as you can probably see, I mean, it's a little bit small to make out, but basically each little enemy has this little round red stuff around them. And the round red stuff also contains this little black line, which is basically the direction of the enemies. The movement direction and also the angle of the sprite, which is normally invisible, and there's a separate sprite, which acts as the billboard, which actually displays the enemy animation. But as you can see, basically the player is always looking at the right, and if I start turning, it's still faced to the right, I mean the sprite, which is exactly the same as the enemies, but it's white. So yeah, the enemies are changing their direction based on where they move. The player doesn't really, but when I turn, then of course the angle is modified. So I can probably use the player's angle, or might be a little trickier than I first expected. I put this in the to-do list at the first position because I figured that, oh, this should be a really easy fix, but I will have to think about it a little. But today is a chill stream because I don't have like a ticking time bomb. I'm not sitting on a 3-hour window or something like I did when I did the Trijam version, so I have more time to make these changes, so I'm not going to stress out about it. Okay, autosave done. So where was I? Here. Oh, I'm also going to try to open the bookmarks bar because I will probably use it today as well. Okay, so if the enemies are between these degrees, but what if I shift these degrees based on the player's current angle? Could this work? Because the player's angle is basically also the camera angle, so I'm just going to try this quickly. Players.angle plus 95. Or should it be plus or not? This is the one that mirrors the billboards of the enemies, so this is when the enemies should be looking in the left direction, so when they are moving left. Right, because when the game starts, the player has the angle 0. So if I add this, it literally doesn't make any... I mean, it means exactly the same. I don't know. This is mostly guesswork at this point. But I will try to... Okay, so right now it's okay, and if I start the camera rotation, okay. I think it's... yeah, it looks like it's working. Right now we are at the 180 degrees of rotation, more or less. And the enemies are looking in the right direction. If I do something like this... okay, so yeah, this worked, I guess. So I just had to offset the angle with the player's current angle, which is also the camera's angle, because the camera is attached to the player from a distance, but it uses the exact same angle, so... okay, that was a quick one. Whew, nice. Check. Okay, so the next one is the touch input stuff, turning, because right now it's only possible to turn the camera and the player with either the keyboard or the gamepad. Let me just pull up the function, I mean custom action, that deals with the input stuff. So this is the player's handle input custom action. It could have been a part of this player tick custom action, but this is already pretty freaking long, so I figured that I should put the input handling stuff into a separate custom action, which is basically a function. So right now the player is can be moved with the gamepad and the keyboard, and also kind of with the mouse or with the touch screen. And the problem is that this is the part that I added in the last update. So this is where the turning happens, and it really should be refactored. I even have a little comment that says to do refactor, so I'm probably going to do that as well. Basically, it just rotates the player sprite at a fixed rate, which is multiplied by the delta time, so it should be frame rate independent, hopefully. And as you can see, there are gamepad and keyboard controls for this, but not any touch controls. And the big question is that how should I even do the touch one, because touch controls work basically at the moment by just pressing the screen somewhere and then dragging your finger, or in this case mouse, because it also supports the mouse. So basically if I click somewhere and then move my mouse cursor, you can see that the little helper sprite that appears is always looking at the cursor, basically, and this specifies the angle of movement for the player. Now, the question is, what do I do to basically add the turning stuff? It's probably going to be multi-touch. I mean, turning can also happen by just pressing two virtual buttons. Maybe I add little overlay buttons, one for left, one for right, or I mean, one for clockwise and one for counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, if that's what you prefer, or anti-clockwise. But I could also do something like adding a second little helper sprite, just like this one. So basically the player can use a second finger to specify the turning direction, if that makes sense. I'm not quite sure. Okay, I'm also going to check chat. I sometimes forget it. Right. Okay, Flavius, take care. Feel free to pop back anytime, and probably, I mean, if you had the time, see you at the Nerdy Nerd stream, I guess. Hopefully. I mean, in a couple hours I'm going to wrap this up and join that stream, definitely. Possibly do a raid if I have more than 2 viewers. So, yeah, take care now. Thanks for joining, by the way. Okay, so, dilemma. Do I add a little virtual touch button, or do I try to make another touch helper stuff that you can press anywhere? I don't know which would be more intuitive. Also, I'm going to open up the event sheet that handles the touch start and touch end events. It's right here. So the touch start basically says the position of this touch helper sprite to the exact position of the touch. And this is on touch 0, which means the first touch. So if I only allow turning while the player is moving, then I guess a second touch could work. But this also means that the player has no ability to turn if they are not moving, which sucks, I think. So one other option would be to maybe split the whole screen into 2 parts, and maybe you can touch the left side to move and touch the right side to turn. This could also work. I mean, some people might want to prefer, moving the player using the right side of the screen and turning with the left side. I don't know, but yeah, maybe this should be just supplemented a little. So, okay. I think I'm going to do the 2 part of the screen stuff, I think. But first, I'm going to quickly check out something. So, but no, it should be fine, I think, because this canvas to layer stuff already calculates the position that the touch helper object should appear on, and I can just check this if it's lower than the layout widths. I mean, the half of the layout width or something like that. Okay, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to introduce 2 local variables, and this little stuff will go into the touch X variable and the other one into the touch Y variable. So and I can just do a little comparison. If touch X is smaller than I don't know if this will work or not, but let's just try. So I want this to happen only on the left side of the screen. And here I can of course use touch X, this local variable stuff. Okay, I'm just going to check if this works. So now the touch helper sprite should only appear if I touch the left side of the screen. Okay, this works, and if I touch the right side, it also works. So this is not good. I think I know. Of course I know why. Why the heck would I use layout width? I have no idea. So it was something that viewport width maybe, or yeah, because this needs a little. Yeah, I'm just going to say viewport width of the layer UI, which is the second layer in the game, which has 0 by 0 parallax. So it should really be basically the size of the original viewport, which is 320 by 180. Okay, I'm just going to check this. Okay, left side works, and now right side does not work, although, yeah, the input stuff kind of works, but this is due to other effects. But the touch helper sprite does not appear, which is good, I think. Now, the question is, do I use a second object, or do I use this? I think I'm going to try to use this first. So I'm going to add an instance variable called role, which I usually have for UI stuff anyway. And in macros, I'm going to create 2 new roles. So I'm going to say this is movement, and I'm going to create a second one named turning. I'm not 100% happy with this name, but that's all right. So what I need to do is to have one instance that has the role movement and another instance that has the role turning. And just for fun and also to debug easier, I'm going to color this differently. So maybe give this a little color as well. So okay, I don't know if it was intentional. It wasn't intentional, but these are basically the portal colors. What the heck? Okay, so the movement touch helper should be in blue and the other one in yellow. Ooh, sorry, I hope that wasn't loud. Okay, so when I'm doing this sort of thing, I'm going to also select the right one. So I'm going to say touch helper variable which has the role movement, and do this as well. So basically this only happens if the touch was originally on the left side of the screen. But I'm also going to need to update some other aspect, because even though the sprite did not appear, the player still started moving when I was touching the right side of the screen. So I'm just going to search for usages of this object. So, okay, this is the initialization. Okay, this is in inputs. I already tackled that, and here are some more. Yeah, this is the movement stuff. So here I also need to add the touch helper variable check stuff. So I only do movement for the touch helper. That is for the movement. And yeah, this angle stuff is all right, I think. This handles the first touch, so that's okay. Or is it? No, it's probably not, because it's quite possible that on an actual touchscreen device, multiple touches are possible. So yeah, okay, I will need to change some things as well. But basically what I want to do is just get the movement stuff working, and only working on the left side of the screen. Okay, instead of this, I think I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to need to save the touch index onto the touch helper instance as well. So, or touch ID possibly. I don't know which one is the better one. An ID might be a little better, but at first I'm just going to check the relevant piece of the documentation. So login and touch, because the touch index is basically a zero-based index of which touch is happening, and an ID is something that is more, it's basically a unique identifier, not necessarily starting with 0, I think. Touch IDs are arbitrary numbers. They only guarantee that it, yeah, okay. Okay, I think I'm going to try to use the touch ID stuff. So I'm going to say touch ID. The question is that what number does the touch ID stuff starts at? Hopefully it will always be either 0 or maybe a bigger number, because I prefer to use -1 as default value for UID stuff as well. So it would be quite good if I could do the same thing here to signify that if a touch is not happening, basically, then this value should be -1. Okay, so this I'm going to disable, and I'm also going to do something like so if the movement touch helper is visible and the player is not touching that touch helper, then it should do this. However, as I already mentioned, I'm going to need to use the touch IDs. So absolute X for ID will be what I need to do, and instead of 0, of course, I'm going to say self.touch ID. So this returns the correct touch position, hopefully. Yeah. Okay, and of course I'm going to need to set this value to the correct one. So instead of on touch start, I'm going to change this to on any touch start. Each touch has a unique ID and can be accessed using the touch ID expression. That's cool. So what I need to do is to save the touch ID to the touch helper sprite. Set value and say touch ID touch.touch ID, right? Okay. And instead of on touch 0 end, I'm going to say on any touch end. And I'm going to pick the instance of the touch helper sprite using this. So basically when any touch ends, then I'm going to pick an instance of the touch helper sprite which has the touch ID saved to it. Yeah, with the matching touch ID saved to it. I don't know if this makes any sense or not, but yeah. And also I think I'm going to set the touch ID to nothing, which is a little constant that has the numeric value -1. So basically delete it or something. Delete the touch ID from the instance. Okay, so I think this should probably work. Also, I'm going to add the support for the right part of the screen, and pick the other instance, which is this one. And this basically needs to happen exactly the same way, which is yeah, this I could probably put in a function or something, but right now I'm not going to do that. Okay. Now the other problem is that I will need to check this on a actual touchscreen device because I cannot test multi-touch stuff using the mouse. So, and I will need to update this as well. I have zero idea if this will work, but let's just check it out. So if I touch the left side of the screen, the movement works, which is cool. And if I touch the right side of the screen, then nothing happens yet, but the little sprite, the touch helper sprite, actually shows up. So this is hopefully good. Okay. Cool. I'm going to save and then add the functionality for the actual turning. And I'm not 100% sure how to do that, but basically I think I'm only going to take into account the X position of the touch. I don't know. I did not think that through, but yeah, we'll see what happens. So this rotation stuff needs to happen. Or maybe, yeah, I mean, if you touch the right part of the screen and move your finger to the left, then it should rotate, the player should rotate in one direction. And if you move your finger to the right of the touch helper sprite, then it should rotate into the other direction, I guess. Yeah, also this to-do refactor stuff is going to happen right now because I will need to refactor this stuff. I don't like that I'm rotating the player in this handle input function anyway. This was only meant to set some instance variables of the player. So there are two variables that deal with the movement stuff. One is moving and the other one is movement angle. So similarly, I'm going to add another one, which would either be called rotation angle or turning angle. I don't know, I'm going to say turning, which is a little weird, but I think I've used this expression before. So let's just go with the consistence. So this will be 0, which means that the player will not be rotated in any direction. But this stuff will be replaced. So I'm going to say players set value and say turning angle and this should be self.r turning speed. R stands for rules. I have instance variables that are state variables and I have instance variables that are basically rules. They could be constants, but I prefer to have them on the sprite, I mean on the object that they are related to, in this case the player. So yeah, this just contains a fixed number, which is the turning speed. And yeah, I'm going to do the DT stuff elsewhere as well. So I'm just going to say this, I'm going to disable this, and I'm also going to do this. But in this case, I'm going to say it's minus the turning speed. So it turns in the other direction, hopefully. I'm going to join this, and in the player's actual movement action, I'm going to add the rotation stuff. Or, okay, I'm going to change things up a little. So here I'm first going to say, what the heck does this say player? This should be players. Okay, so players set value turning angle 0. This is the default one. And if this happens, then I'm going to add, I think, the turning angle. And if this happens, I'm going to subtract. So basically, if the player is pressing both keys, then there shouldn't be any turning. And if they are pressing neither of the keys, then they also shouldn't be turning in any direction. Yeah, I think this could work. Okay, so and if they're of course only pressing one of the sets of the keys, which turns into one direction, then the turning should happen. Okay, so this is the movement stuff, this is the shooting stuff, this is the is it in the zone stuff. Yeah, this is pickups. I will need to refactor some more, or at least add some comments so I can navigate through this source stuff more easily. But right now I'm just going to add turning right here. I'm just going to create an event here, and I mean, if it's 0, then I could say rotate it 0 degrees. So let's just say players rotate clockwise, I guess, and say players dot turning angle. I mean, yeah, I could even put it here basically. Why not? But I'm not going to do that because I prefer this little separation thing. So this is movement, this is turning, this is shooting, and I'm going to add some more comments later, or not. Okay, I'm just going to try if it works using the keyboard. Kind of. This is not ideal. I forgot to do the times by delta time thing. So yeah, this was a little fast. Okay, so the turning seems to be working using the J and L keyboard keys, and also using U and O, which is cool, which does the turning in the other direction because I couldn't decide which button to assign to the clockwise or the other direction. So I ended up using, I think, clockwise for J and O, and anti-clockwise or counterclockwise with U and L. And I did the same thing with gamepad shoulder buttons and triggers as well. So yeah. Okay, so this is cool. Now I just need to check if the second touch helper sprite is visible, the one that is for turning input, and do this whole shebang as well. So I think this could be removed because I did refactor the turning part, so this is all right. However, I also need to, yeah, I'm going to need a condition that also checks the visibility of the right touch helper sprite and then deals with the current touch movement stuff. So yeah, this is going to be a little tricky. Okay, let's just start with by selecting the right instance of the helper, touch helper sprite. So I'm just going to say variable, of course, say roll turning. Then I'm going to check if it's visible. Is visible. And if it is visible, then it means that the player is actively touching the right side of the screen, so they want to turn in either direction, hopefully. So now I just need to check if the current position of the touch, for the right ID of course, is from the left or the right of the touch helper sprite's X position, I think. Okay. I think I'm going to need this. Not as practice to copy everything, but I'm just going to do that. So, okay. Okay, so touch helper compare X, and I'm just going to do the left direction first. So if the touch helper's X position is greater than the current touch's stuff, then it means that the player has moved their finger to the left of the touch helper sprite. So this I will need to replace with UI touch helper dot touch ID to save to use the right touch ID that I saved onto the touch helper instance. And otherwise, basically, I will need to rotate in the other direction. Now I might replace these, I mean swap these, but I'm just going to try right now. And if it works fine, then I'm going to make a little export update the game and check if it works with the multi-touch stuff on my phone. Okay. Turning seems to be working fine. Movement, oops, I died, I mean. So let me just move a little here and then try the turning thing. Okay. Looks like it's okay. I'm going to create a new export and check if it works on my phone, which is somewhere. And 1 second. Okay. It's 4:09. The nerds are probably in stream already. Right, okay, I'm going to replace this. I'm going to run my little script that calls the itch CLI butler to upload the new version of the game to itch, and I'm going to check it out. The speed of my PC, which is a little dinky ThinkPad laptop, by the way, with a, I think, Gen 8 i5 CPU and no dedicated GPU, is really having a little bit of a trouble because, yeah, I'm using OBS to stream and also to record, and using Construct and using freaking Spotify for the music, which is, yeah, not exactly resource friendly either. So yeah, it might seem a little slow, and it is slow, but it's acceptable, I think. But at one point I might invest in a proper PC with something a little, something that is a little more modern, to say the least. Okay, so let me just check if the new build is up. Okay, this is the correct one because it has the little blue and yellow touch helper sprites. Cool. I'm going to try to open this on my phone, I think using Chrome. I'm also going to turn down the volume. Yeah, not the right volume. This was Spotify, because it's running for some reason, even though it's not showing up in the freaking task manager or whatever it's called in Android. Okay, never mind that. So I'm going to run the game. This is going to be a little weird, but this is the best I can do at this point. If the game even starts. What's happening? Let me refresh the page. Also, I noticed that I did not check this game runs on touchscreens or mobile friendly. Yeah, so I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to say it's primarily for landscape, although I did make it basically responsive to whatever screen size you throw at it, but it looks and plays really bad if you use the portrait mode. So yeah, I'm going to give it another go now. Okay, run game. Okay, it starts, and I can move, and I can also turn. Okay, I don't know if this direction is the right one or the intuitive one for people. They might prefer the other one, but I'm going to keep it this way and maybe get some little feedback later if there are many people saying that this feels wrong, that if you shift your finger to the right and it rotates anti-clockwise, then I'm going to swap the two actions, and that's it. Okay, so this is neat. Basically, I have proper support for gamepad input, keyboard input, and touch input as well at this point, so this is another check. Good. Okay, so I have this bigger feature that the player should be able to select the type of the next zone that is spawning. So right now the zones are spawning at totally random, so they're spawning at fixed intervals, but the kind of the zone is up to the game basically, and it selects it using the choose expression, so it's random. But I'm going to do this a little later, I think. However, I'm going to see if I can find something kind of easy to implement. So yeah, this is also something that I'm going to move to the bottom of the list at this point, because this is also related. I want the zones to have some little extra permanent boost for the player, but not all of them, just every, I don't know, 5th or 3rd or 10th or something like that instance of the same zone. So basically, if the player chooses to spawn health zones for, I don't know, 3 or 5 times, then every 3 or 5 times the zone should also have a second effect, not just the proper healing or damage boosting stuff, but something that is permanent to the player. For example, I increase the player's maximum health or something. And I can do the same with the base damage of the weapon as well for the blue zones, of course. I have zero idea what to do with the yellow ones, the coin spawning zones, but yeah. So better looking and possibly bigger projectiles, I'm going to also tackle this later, because this is art or something related, and I am crap at it. So I will probably ask Tibor to come up with some sort of solution, because right now the bullets are looking like crap because I drew them. So yeah. Juice, add folding shells. I don't know why it said shells twice, but yeah. This I might do because it adds juice, and juice is always nice. So this is basically something right from JW's cookbook, The Art of Screen Shake, if you know it. If you don't know it, then I suggest that you search for it on YouTube. It's an awesome presentation with so many nice little tips on how to increase the juiciness of or get the game feel of your action game. It's basically the 2D action Bible or something. It's really neat, and it's by JW, who is the developer of Super Crate Box, and also what was the I'm skipping on the name, but he's basically half of the team called Vlambeer. The other half is Rami, and JW is the developer, so he knows a lot about things. Nuclear Throne, okay, that's their other game, which is dripping with juice. It's freaking awesome. So okay, basically folding shells. So when the player starts shooting, a bunch of little shells should spawn right at the position of the gun of their billboard, and they should just, you know, do a little movement so they fly out, and then they might, I don't know, bounce a little on the ground possibly, or just fall on the ground and stay there for a while, and maybe the game could remove them at one point. Yeah, just to make sure that the performance doesn't tank if the player is shooting a bunch of stuff, and the player will be shooting a bunch of stuff, so yeah. Also muzzle flash, this should also be tagged with juice. Just a simple little white circle that I spawn at the gun. That's it, nothing more, and it adds a little, I don't know, drama to the shooting. This is something that is also kind of like juice, but also changes the game a little. Player weapon knockback, and I had a little question mark because I'm not quite sure if this will work fine, but instead of thinking about it, I'm going to implement it and then see if it works fine or not. Okay, I think I'm going to, I don't know, start with this one. Why not? Player weapon knockback. So I'm also going to create a new version of the project file, so nothing weird happens, hopefully. And I'm also going to bump up the build number to 10. Right now the build number is displayed in the bottom left corner of the screen. So the version that you guys can play on itch at the moment is 9. If I start the game, you can see that it is build 9 at the moment, so yep. Okay. I think I'm going to do a little short bathroom break, 2-minute stops. I will be right back, so stick around, and I'm going to add some juice to this game when I'm back. Yeah, BRB. And I'm back, hopefully. So, right, I was about to add some juice into this little game. So, first, I'm going to check if adding weapon knockback is a good idea or not. And right now, this means that I have to change how the player is moving. So basically what I'm doing right now to move the player is to set the vector X and Y right here, and this is all there is to it. I'm using the player's current angle and the player's movement angle, so which is basically the requested angle if the player is moving or should be moving. So basically when the player is pressing something to make the player character move, then the movement angle is set to the angle that the movement should happen. So what I need to do is to change this a little. I'm just going to think about it a little. It might get a little tricky. Okay. Because I'm doing this before I even handle the shooting stuff, so yeah. But this should be fine, I think, because the player needs to receive the weapon knockback even if it's not moving. So maybe I just do like a relative change, basically, to the vector. I don't know if this makes sense or doesn't. Okay, so the shooting can happen in two directions. The player can either shoot in the left or the right direction relative to them. And this is where the shooting actually takes place. So this is where I spawn the projectile. And this is when I could probably do a little offset to the movement vector. I think I'm going to move stuff around a little. I'm not quite sure how to do it in a clean way, but I'm going to start by introducing two new local variables. And I'm going to say it's knockback vector X and knockback vector Y. And also, I think it's safe to move this to the bottom. So after the shooting and everything, I think. maybe not at the right at the bottom, but yeah, right after the shooting stuff, which should end somewhere here. Yeah, okay. And I'm also going to add some comments to make this stuff a little more readable. Okay, so basically what I need to do is to set the knockback vector x and y right here when the firing happens, when the projectiles are spawned. And when I'm moving the player, or not moving the player, yeah, then I need to add the knockback vectors to the movement vector. Right, okay. I'm going to say movement vector x and movement vector y, and I'm going to do some changes once again. So yeah, I want to say that this will handle the actual setting of the vector x and y of the player. Possibly. So it takes into account the movement vector and the knockback vector. And this part can probably, I can basically move this back where it was just a minute ago. And instead of setting the vector x and y here, I'm going to say set value movement vector x and put this stuff into movement vector x, and do exactly the same with movement vector y. So this can be disabled. So basically I just set the movement vector x and y instance variables value to something, and it will actually set the player's vector x and y on the a direction behavior right here, which takes into account not only the movement vector but the knockback vector as well. I mean, this could work, I guess. At first I'm just going to see if I don't think I need this, by the way, or do I? I mean, if it's not moving, yeah, they should stop. They should just basically, no, I can just probably disable it, because I'm always going to set the vector anyway, and it's by default 0, so it should stop if the movement vector is also 0. So yeah, I guess I'm just going to see if I broke something. It seems to be working fine. Turning also happens, I guess. Because of the lerp, there's a little delay in the billboard's angle stuff. So, but I think it looks funny, so that's alright. Okay. Also, I forgot to disable the visibility of the enemy and player sprites, so I'm just going to do that quickly because it looks like crap. So I'm just going to do this. Okay, so hopefully it's going to work fine. I just need to set the knockback vector x and y right here to something. And also I'm not quite sure if it's going to work, because I don't know if I set the vector x and y, does it take into account the a direction behavior's maximum speed or not. But we'll find out, I guess. So this is the part where I set the angle of the projectile. So what I need to do is to use this angle in the knockback stuff. So I'm just going to say set value knockback vector x and say projectile dot angle is the angle of the projectile, but basically I want the projectile to go in one direction, the player to go in the other direction, so it's opposite always. So I'm just going to say this plus 180 degrees. All angles in construct are in degrees and not in radians. So yeah, this is the angle. So what I need to do is to convert this into an actual position, is to do cosine and times it with the speed, I guess, or the amount of knockback that I want for the player. I have zero idea what value to give here, so I'm just going to say 50 for some reason. And do the same with the y, but use sine this time. I don't know if this will have any effect, but let's just see. So basically, if the player is standing still, there's definitely a knockback. Okay. It's a little choppy, but it's usually choppy in other games as well. So I wonder if I'm if I'm moving to the left, and does the knockback actually make me go faster to the left if I'm shooting on the right? I'm just going to increase the value to something crazy like 500, and I guess we'll see. This could look funny or glitchy. Okay, it doesn't make that much of a difference, so I have a hunch that maybe this max speed stuff is taken into account. Also, I don't really like this choppiness, especially when I'm walking toward the enemies. This might be something that looks good in a 2D platformer, but looks bad in a top-down stuff. Or at least the way I'm doing it. Okay, I'm going to check something out quickly. So right now the player, who is right here, has this max speed set to 100. Now, I'm using this max speed value when I'm calculating the vector x and y for the movement, but I think I want to do something like movement speed and set it to 100. Oops. Set it to 100, why not? And actually change max speed to something a little higher, like, I don't know, 200? That might be too high, but never mind. So also I frigged this up because I added it on the player and not the player's family. So let me just fix that quickly. Movement speed. I don't know why I'm not camel casing this, but okay. Now I am. So movement speed is 100 and the max speed is now 200. So I'm going to, I don't think I can, no. But I know where I use it. I use it right here. So this is where, I'm going to, just to be sure, do this little search for max speed. Yeah, okay. So these can go, and this will actually change to player's dot movement speed, and this as well. So I'm not actually using the A direction max speed value to set the maximum movement speed of the player, but this little instance variable. Oh crap, yeah, players dot R movement speed. Okay. And this means that the player can have a movement speed, but this is not the maximum amount of speed that they can do. Okay, I'm going to try this now. Yeah, the camera lerping and the choppiness of the player is suboptimal. I mean, the combination of the two. Yeah, well, I guess I tried. I can possibly play with the values a little. Maybe have something like this. I don't know if this 500 is actually showing or not. Let me just change it back to 50. Yeah, this is a lot more subtle. I don't know. I think I'm going to ask a few people what they think about this stuff. So yeah, maybe if I had a muzzle flash later, then it might look better. But okay, let me just put this value in an actual instance variable as well. So I'm just going to say R knockback amount. I could say speed, but it's a bit weird. And I'm going to say it's 100 as well. And I'm just going to check this. So maybe instead of 50, what if I use 100? So players dot R knockback amount. Okay. I don't know. I see the merit, but I don't know. Then again, it doesn't look that good. So basically, if I don't know, I don't really notice a difference if I'm shooting on the right, for example, and moving to the right as well, if it's any faster. And I can't really feel the difference either if I'm moving in the direction I'm shooting at, so then it should feel a little slower maybe. I don't know, maybe it is a little slower. I mean, it really should be, but not quite sure. I'm just going to check if the turning makes any change, but it really doesn't, so it's working fine. The camera is quite choppy, so yeah, I'm just going to change the value back to 50 for now and leave it here and get some feedback on whether others like this knockback stuff or not. What I'm going to check the item. So yeah, okay. Right, this is something that I really want to try as well. This is one of those maybe it will be good or not type of deals. I basically wanted this to happen long before today. I had this on to-do lists previously. I want the enemies to take damage when they are within a zone that is just landing, basically. So when a little gift or present or whatever falls from the sky, it lands, and it should really have some more feedback as well, by the way. And it should damage the enemies that are within the reach. What if I make the zone dark so it looks a little bit like a crater, and disable the coloring stuff? Yeah, temporarily, because right now I'm matching the radius, the zone's radius color to the zone, to the type of the zone, I mean. So if it's a red gift, then there is a red circle, etc. Yeah. Also, there's a bit of a trick, because I'm using the tween with easing bounce. And the problem is that I don't know when the gift first lands. So basically when the first impact happens, then there are a couple more bounces. But these are all part of the same tween. So I either need to, I don't know, somehow figure out the time when the first impact happens, or use maybe, I don't know, 2 more tweens or something. I mean 2 tweens in total. So 1 tween that just makes the gift land, and then another tween that does the little bounce. So basically when the gift lands, I can already spawn the big circle that is the crater or something, but it doesn't look good anyway, so yeah. I'm just going to restore this, for now at least. And yeah, have a little think about this, maybe read up on the bounce ease stuff. I'm pretty sure it's the same one as in CSS. Yeah, I always end up here. So ease in bounce. Am I using this? No, I'm using ease out bounce. Yeah. So basically I want to figure out this. How much time does this take? I'm guessing, so it doesn't even actually hit the ground, but it looks kind of like it hit the ground. But this part, I think, at 36%, this is when it's almost on the ground, but not quite. Yeah, okay. I think I'm going to, I might use this. So if I take the amount of time for the tween, and so, okay, this is where I'm doing the little bouncy spawn for the gift or the zone or whatever. And I could also start the timer. Does the, yeah, it has a timer, okay. Also, this, I don't like that I have this value right here, so I'm going to put it either in a constant or maybe a property of the zone, something like that. I think I'm going to use a property on the zone, or the zones family actually. So I'm just going to say R, and how do I name it? Basically I want to refer to the time that it takes for the zone to spawn, for the tween to take place. Okay, spawn tween time, that's it. I'm going to say it's 1.2, and I am going to refer it to right here. So self.r zone spawn time, or just spawn tween time. Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is really ugly anyway. I'm going to do zones start timer and say self.this times 0.36, and I don't know if I can use a macro that is already defined for this. No, I'm going to create a new one. Make a bookmark. Disable this, and also possibly disable this. I'm going to do this elsewhere. I am going to create a timer trigger condition right here. I'm going to say zones on timer, and I haven't named my timer yet, but basically this is going to happen. So when the timer is up, I'm going to make sure the zone is visible. I'm just going to create a new macro, zone radius visible. Oof. Not great, but it will work. Okay, so I had this little bookmark here. I'm going to say timer zone radius visible, and I'm also going to add it here as well. So let's just see how it looks. So basically, hopefully, when the gift or present lands from the sky, the first time it hits the ground, or more or less hits the ground, then the zone should already appear, the little radius around it. Yeah, the first spawn is a little long, but that's fine, I think. Players just need to... Okay, yeah. Another problem with that is that this has the Z elevation synced, I think. Wait a second. No, actually, problem is that I'm tweening this and I'm not tweening this. Crap. Okay. Bit of an issue. Yeah. I'm going to need to change some stuff because this billboard stuff actually needs to tween. Now the question is, do I add the tween on the object or do I add it on the billboards family? Because I might want to tween other billboards as well. I'm just going to do the latter one. I hope it's not suboptimal performance-wise. So I'm just going to say tween. No, I'm not going to say that. And I think I know why, because I might already have tweens added on some of the, yeah. So this little bonus stuff, yeah, this is also on its way out, because this bonus stuff is something that I might remove anyway. Yeah, I cannot add this. Okay. So at first I'm just going to remove the bonus object from the billboards family and see if now I can add tween behavior. What the heck? Why? Okay, the pickup also has freaking tween on it, yeah. Okay. And this is also added just so I can make sure that the pickup is always facing the camera. But it's not a real billboard anyway, so I had a problem with that as well, adding it to the billboards family. Proper billboards start with BB, the object types, and this does not, so yeah. I think I'm just going to remove it as well and continue adding the tween behavior. Oops, what am I doing? To the family. Okay. Now I don't know if I should disable it. Dilemmas. Okay, I'm just going to leave it this way. So, okay. This is invisible at first. This is fine. This is where the zone is spawned. And this is where I set its Z elevation to 200. Now I'm going to disable this, and this is where I pick the billboard. What I want to do is set the billboard's Z elevation to 200, which is once again a freaking literal in the actions, which I don't like, but never mind. Okay, so I need to tween the billboard as well. Can I just replace this? No, that's all right. I want to tween one value or property, which is the Z elevation. And I am going to set it to 0 and say zones dot spawn tween time is out bounce, yes. I'm just going going to resize this little dialogue. Okay. And yeah, this is basically it. So this is where I actually animate the Z elevation of the billboard and not the zone now. So I also want to do this basically right here. Or I could even do this. So the zone becomes visible when the billboard hits the ground, ideally. Okay, I'm going to check if it works or not. I might have missed something. Meanwhile, I'm testing the game. Whoa. I kind of like this turning bit a lot. I think it worked alright, but I'm going to wait for another one. Also, did I leave a little cheat or not? No. I kind of remembered I did. So I think I'm going to, for easier testing purposes, I'm going to say on key pressed, and when I press Z with yeah, just press Z, I'm just going to spawn a zone somewhere. Okay. No, I don't need any parameters, so I'm just going to say zones spawn. That's it. So I can just spam the Z key and it looks alright, I think. Dang, yeah. Getting this 36% stuff seems to be the correct value. Okay, this is neat. I'm going to disable this for now and save as well. So what was I doing? So damage kill enemies in the radius of the newly spawned zone. Okay, this also needs to happen when the timer is up. Okay, so I'm going to change the macro to zone landed, which happens right after the first hit of the ground. And I don't just want to set the visibility of the zone to something like this, I mean to visible, but I also want to inflict damage on any enemies that are overlapping the zone now. Okay, the collision polygon is circle-ish, so it should work basically. I could just say something like enemies and hit, I think. The question is how much damage do I want? Because right now this is not ideal. Projectile.damage is subtracted. So instead of this, I want a parameter to be added. And yeah. Or but no, a parameter should be all right. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say projectile UID and say it's -1 by default. And right here I'm going to say variable projectile UID if it's not equal to nothing, so if it's not -1, then I'm going to subtract the projectile's damage from the player's HP and destroy the projectile as well. And this basically can happen anyway, I think, yeah. And if it's not a projectile that is damaging the enemy, then I'm going to just say subtract the damage parameter from the enemy's HP. So I'm just going to say damage. So I can basically call the hit custom action either from a collision between an enemy and a projectile. In this case, I'm going to pass the projectile's UID. So say projectile.UID. Damage I don't need to specify because it will also automatically be taken from the projectile's damage instance variable. And if I'm not damaging the enemies using a projectile, I can just call hit with any value of damage. and they will inflict this. So yeah. Something like that. Okay. Okay, some comments are always a good idea to add. Okay, so I need to figure out how much damage do I want the enemies to take. Right now, I'm going to test out something like that is a big number, that is bigger than the health point of all enemies, basically. So I'm just going to say my brain is freezing up. So yeah, enemies hit, right? Okay, but I also need to grab the enemies. So enemies overlapping an object, that is the zones object, and say enemies hit, and yeah, this I don't need to specify, and this I need to specify. I'm just going to set it to a ridiculously large number. So basically all enemies die when the zone ends. Cool. Yeah. I'm going to need to juice this stuff up a bit, but yeah, it's essentially it does what it says on the freaking tin. Okay, I'm going to add so the projectile two objects. Okay, so the projectile has a little instance variable called damage. So for the zones, I'm also going to say R damage on landing or something, and set it to a value that basically is quite large, but maybe doesn't kill all the enemies. So I'm just going to check how much health does my enemies have at this point. So the weakest one has 6 and the strongest one has 15. So I'm just going to say on the middle one has 10. Okay, so I think I'm going to say 8, possibly. I screwed something up once again. This needs to be a family instance variable. Damage on landing, what was it called? And I'm going to say it's 8. Right, okay. Also, I'm going to rename the instance variable on the projectile, because this is a rule, basically. So I'm going to say, no, it's not, sorry. No, because this is already 0 by default, but I set it somewhere, so this is all right. Yeah, the player has a base damage. I mean, not the player, but yeah. This is a little weird how I did things here, so I'm just going to refactor it a little bit, I think. So the player needs to have a instance variable called base damage or something. Base damage, and it should be, I don't know how much, because I have 0 idea what I specified in the constant. So player base damage is 2 at this point. Okay, I'm just going to jump back right here. No, not right here. Oh, I forgot to make the bookmark, I think. Okay, so this I'm going to set to players.r base damage instead. And this constant is hopefully not used anywhere else. That's good. I'm going to get rid of it. Some of these might also need to be taken into other places. Never mind that. I'm just going to make a little note for myself. Okay. Okay, I've been streaming for 2 hours. Starting to feel it a little. But I'm just going to keep going, although I think I might make a little break once again pretty soon. So this I think I'm going to just check right now and test stuff a little bit. I think I'm going to restore the temporary shortcut so I can spawn zones by pressing a key. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so enemies are spawning, I'm pressing Z. Bam. And they are mostly dead. Bam, another one. Yeah, okay. This is pretty cool. Maybe the damage is a little too high. So I'm just going to make it so the weakest enemy is dead, definitely, which has 6 HP. This one is damaged, but not that much. I'm just going to set it to 6. This I might once again change over time or something. Or maybe enemies should be stronger over time. Or maybe enemy variety should be upped a little and have some more enemies that have more HP. Okay. Decisions. What the frick, construct? Can I start my freaking game, please? Or is it Chromium that is acting up? No, it's not. Okay. Bam. Bam. Oops, something happened. Okay. Something is off, but this might have to do something with the fact that I'm spawning zones manually. Just to be safe, I'm going to add a little for each. Although this might not be the problem, but I just remember that the timer stuff in construct needs for each if you want it to work. If multiple instances have their timer and on at the same tick, basically. So yeah. Also, wait a freaking second. I was using this the whole time and not this. Whoops. That's why the zones were killing all enemies anyway. Okay. No, I didn't see the flash, I think. Or did I? Let me just check. Why the hell doesn't it spawn? Okay, something's off. It's possible that this is not starting because the zone is not created yet. Something like that. Yeah. I think I'm just going to add weight 0 or weight 0 basically right here and make sure that the zone is actually in the game. Yeah, the flash doesn't happen, but why? I'm going to check out. And still, there's the freaking bug. Okay. Maybe I need for each. I don't know. Let me just check one thing. So this is where... No. This is where the hit stuff does its thing. It should work for all enemies. What if I add the for each right here? Okay. The flashing stuff is now fixed, I think. Question is that, yeah, some zones are still spawning and the timer is not doing its thing, which is a problem because this also means that, I think, does it? Am I healing? No, I don't think so. Ah, crap. Okay. So this timer stuff is not reliable, seemingly. When I say zone spawn, I create a zone. I could do some of this in here, I think, anyway. Because this should only do the spawning thing, and actual initialization of the object should happen in the init function, which is hopefully called, yeah, in the created event sheet. So when the zone is actually created, although this still doesn't necessarily mean that they are in the freaking layout, then the init function should be called. And this starts the timer for the destroy stuff, so the expiration of the zone. This will also need to be moved from this constant, by the way. And it also starts the spawn tween time stuff. Okay. I wonder if the spawn tween time is... No, it's right here. Tricky. Okay, continuing. So when the zone is hopefully created, then the billboards are checked. And the actual setting of the type of the zone happens here at random as well. This is fine. The animation is chosen from the 3 options, and then the zone type is set according to the animation name, and then the radius is colored according to the animation name as well. And this is where the... Sorry, what? This shouldn't be here, right? This is for the zone and not the billboard. The billboard is tweened here, so okay, this I could probably remove. Okay, let me just check something. What if I spawn a couple more zones? Does it bug or does it not? Good, good, not good. Fuck, why? This is weird. Oh, I think I have an idea now. If there are no enemies overlapping the zone, then this freaking event does not... I mean, the actions do not run, and this is a problem because there is a good chance that sometimes zones land in a location where there are no enemies overlapping it. So yeah, this was the problem. So what I need to do is just check if the zone's timer ends up, the zone landed timer, and then if it happens for multiple zones at the same time, this is there to handle this case, but it probably shouldn't happen. I mean, right now the zones are only spawning one by one. So yeah. And if there are players overlapping the zones, then I need to hit them. But the visibility stuff needs to happen anyway. So, yeah. This was probably the issue. Yeah. Bugs. Bugs that are usually forming because I am getting tired. A little. But this is fine. This is not a huge issue. I fixed it. Okay. I think we're all right. Cool. I'm going to leave it like this for now. I did check the item, I think. Yeah, damage kill enemies in the radius of the newly spawned zone. That's fine. Okay, so what else is there? What else is there that is easy to implement? Critical hits, yeah, with random explosions, of course. Enemy hit knockback. Okay, this is something that I could also visit. Similarly to the weapon knockback of the player, I might want to knock back the enemies a little when they receive a hit. I think I'm going to check this out now. So this is where enemies get hit. And this is where the enemy is damaged, but they are not dead. So this is where I need to add a little bump, I think. And this only should run if the projectile is there. Also, this is a little weird because projectiles are picked when I call hit from a projectile collision, so I might need to do this sort of thing. I just need to do something that only runs if there are no crap. Never mind that. I'm just going to leave it like this. Yeah, it's all right. Because if there are no projectiles passed on to this custom action, and I do something like, okay, check the picked count of projectiles, then it might be all of them, which is not ideal. So, okay, I'm just going to leave it like this, and I'm going to try to make the knockback as well. So, once again, I want to check when the enemy is damaged but not killed, if there was a projectile, and if there was a projectile, I want to give a little knock to the enemy. And this might get tricky because I'm already ticking enemies and moving them right here. So I don't know if I add an additional something like this, if they will show up actually or won't. Or what if I do a little impulse or something? Possibly. Let's just try this at first. Apply impulse at an angle. The impulse should be, I don't know, 10. This is probably a lot. But then again, I'm using velocity reset at every tick, so this might still even not show up. And the angle should be the projectile's angle, I guess. So in the direction the projectile is coming from, then the enemy should receive a little bump. I'm just going to see if this is noticeable or not. Doesn't look like it. I might need to do either something that... Also, what the heck is happening? The enemy is not dying. What did I screw up? This is probably not the problem, but let me just check something quickly. Yeah, the enemies are not dying, but why? It's possible that the problem is that I'm not setting the damage value of the projectiles. Because I did some refactoring here, so review projects. No, I didn't want that. I wanted to debug the project. Yeah, my brain. I think I'm going to wrap up soon. possibly in a couple minutes or something. So, okay, I'm just going to see if this projectile that is on the screen actually has, yeah, it has damage 0 set, so that's a problem. I screwed something up definitely. So let's just see where I reference the damage variable of the enemy. And this is basically the part where I players that are base damage, yeah, but did I set it or didn't I? Yeah, player, and yeah, base damage is 0. That's a problem. Okay, I'm just going to change the order of the instance variables anyway, so the rules are at the top. And instead of 0, I think I'm going to, I don't know, what was it in the previous build? I think I already removed the variable, or the constant to be more precise. I'm just going to open up construct and see a previous version of the project. How cool is that? I have a bunch of previous versions. I don't know, number 8 should be all right. I mean, build 8. I think it was 2, but I'm not sure. Maybe it was 1. I don't know. We're gonna check if construct opens it. My poor friggin' PC is burning. Okay, so player base damage was 2. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to set the R base damage value to 2, and now the player should be able to once again damage and kill enemies. Nice. However, this knockback stuff does not seem to happen, which might not be a huge issue anyway, but I'm just going to see if it looks good or not. So what I might want to do is to set a... Okay, so this is where I apply the actual physics force right after I reset it at an angle. Now I'm wondering if I do 2 actions subsequently. Yeah, this might be a little gross, but I'm also going to yeah, just to see if it even looks good or not, I'm just going to say knockback vector x, and or should it be vector? Knockback angle. But this is a problem because angles, crap. 1 minute. I mean, I could probably say that it's -1 by default, so, but no, I'm going to do something else. Knockback amount, which is going to be 0, and I'm also going to say knockback angle, which is also 0 by default. So basically, when I'm hitting the enemy with a projectile, I'm going to say set value of knockback amount to, I don't know, 10, and set value knockback angle to the projectile's angle. So if the knockback amount is something that is greater than 0 right here, then I'm going to, for now, just apply a second force right here. I don't know if it should add up or not. Yeah, let's just see. And also, I am going to set the knockback amount to 0. So after the knockback has been added to the force of the enemy, basically, or the vector or something. So when the enemies have received the knockback, then the knockback is zeroed out. Okay, something like that. Okay, I think I might see a little knockback now, but let me just turn it up a little. This is right here where I set it to 10. I'm going to set it to 30 and see if it's a big change or not. We'll see. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Now, basically the knockback I want to set in a projectile rule, or whatever it's called. I mean, it is called that because I called it that. So in projectile, I am going to say, or since the projectile's damage is already not a rule but a little variable, and I set the projectile's knockback from the player's base damage variable. So I probably want to do the same for the knockback as well. So I'm just going to say R projectile knockback force, and I'm going to move it right here. This I'm also going to rename R projectile damage. Okay, and I'm going to set it. The force with 30 was pretty good, but I'm just going to set it to 20 for now. And also I am going to where was I? Right here. Yeah, I'm going to need an instance variable for the projectile as well. So I'm just going to say projectile damage and also knockback force, which is 0 by default. And here I'm going to say projectile.knockback force. And when I set the damage of the projectile, I also set the knockback amount as well. And the question is, do I also give a little bonus for the knockback amount when the player is inside a damage upgrade zone or whatever, the blue one? It would be possibly quite good, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to see how the game plays right now with the force set to 20, the knockback force. Also, I set amount somewhere, right? Knockback amount, yeah. This I'm going to change to knockback force. And the great thing in construct is that you can just do that and don't have to worry about searching and replacing stuff. Yeah, 20 is quite a lot, actually. Let's just change it to 10 or something. Oh, it was 50. Right, okay. This was not intentional. No, sorry. Knockback amount, knockback force. What? Okay. Yeah, I'm making mistakes. What the heck? Okay, yeah. Oof. Okay, so this is the knockback for the player. This is the knockback for the projectile. So yeah. 50 is alright. This I'm going to say weapon knockback amount, which is a little better, possibly. Although I still don't like the amount part. Never mind, I'm just going to keep it this way. Let's see if the projectile knockback value 10 feels better. Still feels like a lot. What if I change it to 0? I mean, does it disable it, or did I mess something up? That's the question, basically. No, I definitely messed something up, because this is... crap. Yeah, I need to wrap up. So, projectile knockback force. Okay. This is not used anywhere, and this is probably used somewhere, right? Yeah. Because this needs to be projectile knockback force instead of weapon knockback force, or knockback amount, or what was it called. So yeah, and this was 50, so maybe 20 is all right. Okay, now there shouldn't be any knockback. Okay, that's cool. And now if I change the player's projectile knockback force value, god damn, misclick. Okay, so if I change this to, I don't know, 20 at first, let's just see what happens. Looks like there are 2 bullets spawning or something, but it probably doesn't. It just looks a little weird with this graphic. Little cube. Okay, I think this knockback is... I'm not saying it's subtle, but it's a lot more subtle than the 50 value, so... This is alright, I think. It adds juice, so... Juice is always good. Okay. I think I'm going to wrap it up soon. I'm going to check the to-do list and check this item out. Enemy hit knockback is done. And yeah, projectile destroy tween. There are a couple easy ones, so I'm tempted to maybe do a few more. But then again, it's... yeah, I've been streaming for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And starting to feel it, so yeah, I'm just going to make a few more easy ones, maybe 1 or 2, and then I'm going to wrap up. So projectile destroy tween is something that I'm going to implement right now, and it shouldn't be hard. I just want the projectile to basically not just, you know, destroy immediately when their lifetime or expiration timer is up, but I want it to tween and basically just start shrinking until it disappears. So this is basically one action. I just need to add it to the right place. So right now, when the projectiles are projectiles have this timer destroy stuff happen to them, I want to tween instead of destroying them right away. But right now the projectile... Okay. I basically need to tween 3 values because the projectiles are now 3D. So for this, I will definitely need to do a for each anyway, because it's quite possible that later I'm going to spawn projectile, more than one projectile at the same time. So this is exactly the kind of problem that could rise from not having a for each added to the on timer trigger, because if there are more than one projectiles that have their timer up on the same tick, then yeah, I mean, this may or may not be an issue, but just to be safe, I'm going to add the for each. So for each projectile that is about to be destroyed, I'm also picking, I think I could do, whoops, I could do this in the same event. I'm also picking the projectile 3D, so pick child or children that are projectile 3D types. These are in hierarchy, so the projectile is basically at this point a little invisible sprite. I mean, I'm just going to check if it's invisible, but it should be. Yeah, it is invisible. And if I zoom in a little, then you can see that basically, so this is the projectile. sprite, and this is a little 3D shape object called projectile 3D, and these are just tied together with hierarchy. So okay, so when the projectile's timer is up, I'm going to pick their projectile 3D object children, and yeah, and I need to tween them. And for this, I think I'm just going to add the tween behavior right onto this. Now, okay, I'm going to do a little weird stuff, but bear with me. So basically what I need to do is tween the X, Y, and Z properties of the projectile 3D object. And to do this, I'm going to tween the X and Y properties of the projectile itself, and I mean the width and the height, sorry. And this should also propagate onto the projectile 3D object as well, because the X, Y, and width and height parameters are all synced. Basically everything is synchronized between these two. So this should be all right. I'm just going to say projectile tween two properties and say the size, and both the X and Y parameters, this is basically the width and the height, should be 0 in like I don't know, 1 second or something. And I'm not even going to bother with easing. I'm just going to say destroy and complete. And this should also destroy the projectile 3D as well. So also I'm going to do this tween one property of the projectile 3D object, which would be Z height. If I can tween it, it's possible that I cannot tween it. Crap. This is weird. Yeah. I vaguely remember someone requesting this in the feature request GitHub for Construct, because it's not possible to tween the Z height of a 3D shape object for some reason. It's probably an oversight, but yeah, this is all right. I'm just going to say, yeah, I'm going to do something else. So basically, since I'm already tweening the projectile's width and height, I could do something like, and this is not even going to really show because the projectile is tiny. It's probably far from the player when the garbage collector timer is up, but still, let's do things properly. So when the projectile is tweening, for this, I think I'm going to use is playing, and I might want to introduce a tag for this. These bookmarks I'm getting rid of. This is completely unnecessary. Okay. Also, I don't know if this is necessary, probably not, but yeah, this is the zone spawning stuff. Okay. Quick side note. Okay, so I'm going to create a tween macro. I'm going to just say it generically size, which is a bit ambiguous, but it should be fine. So if it's playing tween size, and for this, of course, I'm going to have to specify it right here. So if the projectile is tweening its size, then I'm going to pick the projectile 3D child, and I'm also going to say projectile 3D set Z height to projectile.tween.value. Now this is a good question. If I'm tweening two values, what does this give me? I'm going to check the docs. So this is a behavior. This is a kind of weird. This is weird because if I'm tweening two values at the same time, which one is going to be in this value expression? Probably the first one. I mean, it doesn't matter because it should be the exact same value, basically. So, yeah. I'm just going to say value and tween size, and that's it. And to test this out, I think I'm going to need to change stuff a little. Basically, I want to see where I start the original destroy timer. Projectile lifetime, yeah. This is also a constant for some reason, but that's all right. Okay, so I'm just going to say projectile lifetime should be something that is a lot lower so I can witness it right up close. I'm going to set this to full screen. Yeah, it's frying my laptop, but yeah. Let me just restart and move the window a little bit. Okay, something like this. Okay. Okay, it seems like it's still destroying pretty quickly. I might have left something in. Yeah, this one. This is definitely the last thing that I'm doing from the to-do list for today. And I might do another stream. Yeah, okay, so now the size is, it looks like it's tweening properly, but it's a little weird with the height, I think, the Z height. I don't know. It's a little hard to witness it, but no, it basically jumps. But this tween value might not be the, no, it's the current value. Okay, so it's weird. What if oh, hey Flavius, glad you're back. Yeah, I'm about to raid. I mean, yeah, in like 3 minutes or something, I'm just going to fix something real quick because my brain is fried. But yeah, I'm going to raid in a couple minutes, little like 2 or 3 minutes or something. I'm just going to change. I'm going to fix this stuff, and then we are off to the Two Nerdy Nerd stream, definitely. So tween size should be tween, I don't know, height or something instead. And I only use this in one place. So, I mean, I only start it in one place. So instead of size, I might want to just use tween one value instead of two values at the same time. I don't know if this is going to fix it or not, but I'm going to leave it if it's not going to fix it anyway. So tween width should also be tween, but first I'm going to say tween height, and value should be 0, which is all right. The time should be, I don't know, 1 second. The easing is all right this way. I want to destroy the object at the end of the tween, and I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm not even going to fill out the tag this time, just say width and also have the exact same values. I don't really need to have destroying complete for both actions, but yeah, I'm just going to disable it for the first one. So this is basically tweening the width and the height as well. And now I'm checking if the tween height is playing and set the value accordingly. This may or may not work. Now it still has this little jump, and I'm not quite sure why. It's weird. Okay, I'm just going to cancel this for now, because my brain is fried and I'm sure that I made a couple of mistakes in the last part, so I'm just going to remove this part. It was a stretch anyway. I'm just going to restore this so the projectile is destroyed when the timer is up, and that's it. Yay, Flavius, it's really nice of you to made an actual raid message. This is a first for my channel, by the way. Okay, well, it's probably you only, and possibly one more viewer, because yeah, Twitch is showing me three viewers at the time. So yeah, let's just go over the nerdy nerds, because I really want to check how they are doing anyway. So let me just try to, yeah, select it. I'm starting the raid, and we should be off in a couple seconds, hopefully. So I'm going to wrap up. Thanks for watching. If any of you watched, the video will be probably up on my YouTube channel at this point. So yeah, I mean, not at this point, but maybe tomorrow or something, and I'm going to continue development of this game. So yeah, thanks for sticking around, and see you around. Bye-bye now.